Okay, so let's call to order the May 26th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Before I get started, I just want to read the public participation guidelines that we read before each of these meetings. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. So now that we've done that, does anyone, Brian, Marlene, Ed, do any of you have any announcements to make?
I just want to say thank you to everybody that participated in Memorial Day exercises. It was a small crowd. And I do want to say a special thank you to DPW for getting out the flags. And another special thank you to all the scouts that made sure that there were flags at all the graves in town. So special thank you to everybody on that. That's all I have.
Thank you. And thank you, Ed, for your service and for always making sure that our veterans are properly recognized in town. Brian, did you have anything?
No, I agree with you as far as thanking Ed and what Ed had mentioned about thanking those involved. It was certainly a different type of year this year, but we appreciate all the work that the veterans have done and continue to do for us. But other than that, I have no other announcements, Madam Chair.
You know, I do want to thank Hannah Zahn, who cares for our cemeteries and does a beautiful job doing that, had also taken the time to do sort of a quick video of each cemetery to put on social media so that people had, the opportunity to, view the cemeteries yesterday from home, as is recommended. So that was a nice thing for her to do. I just want to remind people that this coming Sunday is Incorporation Day. And while it has been significantly scaled back, there will be some speeches at the town hall at 11, or actually at Smith Academy Park at 11:30. They will be recorded and televised so that people will have the opportunity to see those afterwards, but we're looking forward to that event. We have some time for public forum. Is anyone present who wants to mention anything?
Sure, I would love to.
Joe?
Yes. I just, I mentioned earlier, I had asked if we can get the town meeting and the town elections onto the community calendar. And also an idea was I went down by the Lions Pavilion where we're going to hold the annual town meeting. And, at some point when we get a little closer, I know DPW is doing some planning to set that up. And I was almost wondering if we, instead of looking at the Lions Pavilion lengthwise, we do it widthwise. But then people that come could bring some lawn chairs and actually sit in the paved parking area separately and safely apart, but they wouldn't have to rely on sitting on picnic tables or standing. So if at each time we talk, if we encourage people, hey, bring your lawn chair, you can sit out there. And if we do the Lions Pavilion widthwise, it'll almost echo outward and it can be a whole lot easier.
That's a good plan unless it's bad weather.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's not going to work.
I get it, but I'm an optimist and I think you guys all are too. So we got to give it our best shot.
Sure. I think I also think we really need to encourage people to make sure that they bring or wear bug spray, because we know that the mosquitoes are really bad down there. And I just want to make sure people are prepared for that.
Sure.
Regardless of how we set it up, that's going to be a concern for me.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Joe, I'm not sure if you thought about this, but knowing you, you probably did. So it's going to have to be set up, whether it's width or length, sort of in a not a stage necessarily, but, you know, like a center of the meeting. And so we're going to have to work, if it hasn't already begun, to work with John Novak or whomever to make sure we have speakers set up so the people, if it's a town meeting, can still get up and address the town moderator. So
Sure. And
as we plan all this, we've just got to sort of, from a logistics perspective, try to keep some of that in mind as well.
sure. And Brian, at the 1 month mark, I did get in touch with emergency planning, Chief Bob, and to let them know that they've got a month of planning to think about probably having hand sanitizers, wipes available in the event of. John Novak is going, I've asked DPW about having some electrical setup, and John Novak's got to kind of let them know what he's thinking about, because we can't just have a mic we pass around because of this pandemic. But he's going to try to have one set mic if people need to come up and speak, and maybe an extra mic for your group or myself. But,
Sure.
you know, hopefully there won't be a whole lot of discussion, because we're going to try to keep it as basic as possible, and we can chat more in the fall. But people will have some questions, and we have to honor them. So Board of Health, emergency planning, they're aware of this. And I'm sure, you know, at some point we got to talk to police and fire and say, you know, how are you going to, is there any action to letting people in or out carefully? So there is some planning and discussion, and with each and every one of you, when you talk to them, sure, bring the subject up. The more, the better.
Well, we did talk a little bit about that this morning we have a weekly COVID-19 call.
Great.
And we did talk about, town meeting and the setup, and Bob Flaherty, Chief Bob was there, and Chief Mike. And anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there, but certainly we've got the next few weeks, we'll all get together and start working out the logistics and see what makes sense.
Thank you.
Are we absolutely sure there's no way to hold this inside in the gym? And the gym is a huge space. The quorum can be reduced, right?
Well, if you know what, the state talking about the quorum, they've got that thing where it could go to like 10%, but they've got some little red tape in there as usual, that if you go to 10%, then the limitations on what you can even vote and bring up gets really, really restrictive. And when you go into the school gymnasium, you're going to have the problem of the very tight squeeze of people getting in and then getting in the building. You know, it would sure be nice if it was all lifted. And if you guys at the last minute choose to switch it, I think we've kept people informed of that.
I mean, I understand that you have to walk down the hallway, but the hallway is significantly wider than a grocery store aisle.
Absolutely.
That people have been regularly walking down. I personally would like to leave open the possibility of having it indoors at the school, depending on what information we have at the time, depending on what weather predictions are for the time, so that's my feeling on it.
I agree, and that's why the last time we spoke, I said, you know, if we had to, we could fall back on that code red phone call thing and let people know. Or if we did switch it at the last couple of days, we would have to have somebody by there to say, no, go to the high school. And,
Right.
and I'm open to either one. I just don't want anybody to feel so uncomfortable that they wouldn't go. So I'm wide open to either one.
Well, and I think that there's an argument to be made for people feeling uncomfortable no matter which location it is.
Sure.
So
and
some people are going to be uncomfortable being down there at the pavilion.
Sure.
Some people are going to be uncomfortable being in the gymnasium.
And I know in the gymnasium, you know, we've got all the bleachers, so that between the floor and the bleacher seating, you know, we need a quorum of 75 people. That's doable in a room that size.
I agree. I completely agree.
The closer we get, I think at least a week before, we've got to make up our minds, maybe looking at the weather report, looking at things. And then if the decision with all of us is to do it at the high school, hey, that's cool. Let's just let people know, though. And we have a lot of outlets to spread the word.
Of course. Okay, Joe, are you all set?
I'm all set. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have anything for public forum?
Diana,
Does anybody on our side, the Board of Selectmen or the town administrator, see that people are trying to enter and have to allow them access? Because Daryl's trying to get in. Last week, it would pop up in front of me and I could let people in, but.
Yeah, Key, would you let Daryl in? And anybody else?
Most people I'm not seeing on camera either. I don't see Brian. I didn't see Joe.
Oh, we're blocking our,
It
we're
says,
saving our bandwidth.
yeah, the viewing is disabled right now.
Okay. Okay, anyone else want to say anything for public forum?
Diana, it's Mike Cahill. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
I can hear you, Michael.
I know that the primary focus of this meeting is finances. And I was just wondering, either now or when the finance committee actually joins in, if someone could give us an update on where the accounting firm is with fiscal 19 and where we stand with filing statements for fiscal 19 with the DOR, and what our most recent estimate of free cash is.
Yeah,
And-
so Michael, that is, as you know from attending these meetings, that is always something Marlene includes in the discussion of that. So I'm sure that she'll give an update on those things when we get to that portion of the meeting. So, okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything for public forum? Okay, I don't believe we have any minutes to approve, Marlene, correct?
I have not received any, so I would say there isn't any.
Okay, and it's 6:30, so we're actually right on schedule to meet with the finance committee. Do we have the finance committee members with us? It's hard for me to see on this screen.
Betsy's here.
I see Betsy
I'm
joined.
here.
Key, are you there?
Diana, if you click show participants, it'll show you on the right-hand side, everybody by name.
Yeah, but there, I mean, yeah, I can see there's a whole bunch of people. So I see that we have Diane.
Diane is there, Betsy.
Betsy is there. Is Daryl in?
Daryl is not in yet.
And we also don't have Sean, and we don't have Kim Baker.
No, we don't.
So we need to hold off until we have at least a quorum of the finance committee.
And Key's not
Right.
responding. She has to let them in, the creator of the meeting. So I'm texting her right now.
Okay, let's hold off a few minutes then. Do you want to do the DPW report? Is Phil here?
No, Phil was not planning on attending. There isn't any report. Sorry, I didn't see that on the, okay, no, that should not be on there.
Diana, while we're waiting, may I make a comment?
Sorry, I lost my connection for a minute.
Oh, Diana, while we're waiting, can I just make a comment on town meeting?
Sure.
Daryl?
If we
Is
do
now
end up
joining.
going to the school and everything looks okay, we can still, that's why I asked you guys to post your full warrant, because if we are in the school and it looks fairly safe, we can run through the whole thing.
Right.
Just keep that in mind. Thank you. I'm all done.
Okay.
Daryl has joined, but I see he's joined by telephone.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to get on and I couldn't, it wouldn't let me in. Someone is supposed to let me in or something. I don't know how it works. But anyway, I'm here.
Okay, so we have Diane and we have Betsy and we have Daryl. Do you three want to, oh, and Kim Baker is on. Okay.
Sean
So-
should be coming, I think.
Do you want to wait for Sean or do you want to go ahead?
Well, we should probably get started if that's okay.
Okay,
Did I hear, is Betsy on too?
yes.
Oh, Betsy, I didn't
Yeah,
think you were going to be able to
Betsy
join
can-
us.
What's that?
That's all right. I never mind, Daryl.
Everyone but Sean is on, Daryl, from the Finance Committee.
Okay. All right, so I guess.
And you're very faint. Your audio is very faint.
How is it now? Is it better?
Much better. Thank you.
All right, sorry, I guess I have to yell into the phone, so. I apologize, I don't know what happened, but anyway. So let's get started by, well, I guess, Diane, you're the new chairperson?
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you.
I guess, you just we wanna attack do we wanna go right for the budget? Why don't we get an update from Marlene? Marlene, when we last talked last week, you were gonna run some numbers through the spreadsheet. Why don't you bring everybody up to speed as to how that has gone?
Well, pretty much every budget is level funded, with the exception of costs that we knew would increase, some assessments, contractual obligations, the union, let's see, retirement and Medicare increased as well, and the insurance, general liability and property.
Okay,
And so those, in the spreadsheet, I highlighted in yellow what is an increase. And then on the general fund debt, there were some items that came off, the school roof and windows, and the town hall roof. We did pick up another debt exclusion, and that is the principal of $18,000 for town hall renovations phase 2. And let's see. And also, yeah, so there are two borrowings, one for $100,000, and that's the principal, and the interest is $16,563. We paid on the interest last year, we just didn't pay on the principal. This year we've picked up another loan. The principal is $18,000 and the interest is $3,562. So those are our increases. So all the debt exclusions are accounted for on the taxation summary page. And
so Marlene, can you just walk us through, it's a little bit difficult to do it this way. Do you want to start with which page do you want to start with? Do you want the summary, no articles, or which one?
well, the budget recap, that's pretty much the first.
That would be helpful. Let's start with the budget recap.
Okay.
Budget recap, okay.
Which is what page of this?
Page 2.
Okay.
Diana, it's the second tab.
It's the second tab. I consider it the first tab.
Yep.
But it is the second tab, actually.
Okay.
So the fiscal year 21 column is on the far right-hand side.
Yeah.
Total state aid payments is down. This is based on the governor's numbers. That's all we have to work with right now. So that's $2,171,592.
Okay.
Local receipts. So we are trying to be somewhat conservative. So we're plugging the same number we used on the recap.
Okay.
That's $950,200. I'm going to follow up with the building inspector and ask him how things are looking on his side, if we can anticipate any significant construction. He's very good about letting me know, and because I haven't heard that, I don't think that there is anything, but I will check with him. Enterprise fund receipts, so this water, sewer, and cable TV. So that's $1,061,890. And community preservation funds, we're looking at $584,008. So
Marlene, can I interrupt for a second, just for everybody's benefit? Community preservation funds comes from where? Where does that money come from?
if you look at the A4 CPA revenues tab,
Mm-hmm.
No, I think you're asking where they come from.
Where does that,
oh, I'm sorry, I
where do
thought
we
you
get
said
that money?
numbers, where is it coming from? So, and these are estimated receipts. So
Right.
you have surcharge that's added to tax. That's $170,251. State trust distribution,
Okay.
that's $137,757.
Mm-hmm.
137,000. And as the state had said, it was difficult to really provide a number, so they just, suggested that we use 11.1%.
Yeah. I wanted to point that community preservation fund line out, partly because it comes in as a result of a surcharge on taxation, but it is managed completely separately from the rest of the budget. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's not money we get to spend in this meeting.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
it's estimated, right, it's not,
Yeah.
it's local money. So
Who manages that? Marlene, who manages that money?
well, between the
The
treasurer's
CPA
office and the
committee.
accountant and the community preservation committee.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be appropriated by town meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Right,
the
because
finance
it's
committee
money
doesn't
that's
determine how it's spent.
Right, the recommendations are made by the CPA.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, every year CPC submits recommended projects, and then they also have their standard reserve budget article. And so so that 584,000 makes up, what did I say? So right now in reserves, there's an estimated 240,000.
that's
Can
fine.
we backtrack just a bit?
Yeah.
On the enterprise funds, the estimate for FY21 is down about $76,000. Do you know why, Marlene?
Well, we looked at estimated receipts for fiscal year 20 of 10,000. So for 21, we reduced it to 5,000
For enterprise funds?
for water and sewer. Other department fees,
Yeah.
actual revenues in 2019, water and sewer brought in about 10,586 in other fees. So Phil might be able to
Oh,
tell
we're
us.
talking about $76,000,
Can I?
not 10,000.
This is Sharon. That's because we had the huge abatement for the one property from last year's billing.
A $76,000 abatement?
Yes, we did. You approved it. It was for the school. Something was wrong with their meter. It was like a huge abatement. I just looked at it today, but that's where the difference comes from, because that obviously wasn't really a fee we collect, taxes we collected.
Okay, well, estimated receipts for water and sewer, we increased because we know the rates are increasing.
On page 2, they're not increased, Marlene. They're down.
Yeah, no, on page 2, they're decreased by $76,000.
Right, but
What do you mean?
if you look,
Where is, hold on, Betsy?
Yeah,
Which line are you looking at?
I'm
Uh,
look-
This is the budget recapitulation.
no,
Which one?
I think Diana is looking at A2 enterprise receipts, which is the fifth tab. Sixth tab.
Okay, enterprise receipt.
well, I was just looking at it on the recap.
Right, but there's a tab, Diana, A
Okay.
enterprise receipts.
Yes, okay, I
And
see
you-
this.
All
Yep.
right, and then it shows you what estimated receipts are for fiscal year 20 for water and sewer. User charges 963,000
Yeah,
and other fees approximately 10,000. And then
Okay.
you have the cable TV, 65,000.
But for 21, you're estimating 991,000.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
so Betsy, your question was why did we bring in less in 20 than we did in 19?
It wasn't my question, it was Diana's, but I'll ask the same question.
it was, no, my question was
didn't bring it
actually,
in.
why are we estimating so much less in 21 than in 20? Sharon says it was all one abatement.
There also looks like there's a prior year retained earnings in
was gonna say-
2020 that
Correct.
got plugged in, that 100,000 that we had to put in 2020.
That's right, that's right. So that
Yeah.
makes a difference too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Marlene, are you going to continue?
Sure. So now, we're on the recap sheet. Other
Thank you.
financing sources. So that first line is free cash. So there has not been a decision as to how much free cash we will use. So that is not plugged in. Other available funds come from the other financing sources tab. So that right now is $327,129. So total receipts from the property tax levy, that's $8,179,990.92. Then you have your total receipts from all sources. Currently, the estimated budget is $10,947,031.44. The only article right now on for the town meeting warrant that's on that last tab that's the chapter 90 that we appropriate every year. So that $241,514 is chapter 90.
Okay,
Then you have other amounts to be raised. That comes from the other financing uses tab. Anybody, you want to take a look at that?
Yeah, what is that?
Other financing uses. So these are other costs. You have the cherry sheet offsets, $878,941.
Yeah.
Then you have CPA. That's the $584,008. Snow and ice deficit. That we may change that.
Andrea Leary
50,000.
is now joining.
And allowance for abatements and exemptions, 70,000. I don't expect that to change, but the assessors will let me know. They, I believe, are voting on that tonight. And then-
okay, does anyone have any questions or anything? And I'm referring to the Finance Committee or Ed or Brian as we move through this. I mean, that takes care of the recap sheet pretty much. We've discussed it.
So in this sheet, are we saying that we have an excess capacity of $58,329?
Correct, at this time.
And what you had, and so in this, there's no free cash being used.
Correct.
Correct. You have put in the school budget as we requested.
I have plugged in, and John, I think you're on the, in the meeting here. So I plugged in for the schools, $4,678,092. Is that correct? That's the level? That's the-
Marlene, hi, Marlene. I don't have my figures in front of me right now, but the budget that they talked about was the budget that had the it was, I know it's like an increase about approximately 148,000 above level
Yeah.
funded.
That's the difference, 148,207.
Okay, so that's the one you plugged in, Marlene?
Yes.
Okay.
And those are contractual obligations and increases that have to be put in there.
For the school?
For the schools, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last week, going with that. We talked about not making that a level funded budget.
Right.
You know,
I'm
more
just
or less-
reiterating that for anyone who's on this that may not have joined us last time.
And there's an increase on the vocational schools line item.
Which tab is all that?
On budget education.
Where do I find that?
Scroll over to the right. Between public safety and public works.
It's in yellow, Daryl, if that helps.
Yeah, public.
The tab is.
Yeah, hold on. Which one? The budget in education?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So your special ed costs are up $90,000, 80-something thousand dollars.
Right. Okay. All right, so next question. Does anybody have any other questions about the school budget being on that? If not, Marlene, we had talked this afternoon. Did you put in increases for contractual for the DPW? And also
Yes, I
we had
did.
talked about 2% for other non-union employees. Was that added?
I have not added the 20, what did I say?
It's 28.5 something.
I have not added that, but that is just a quick calculation, a down and dirty calculation of 28,000 for all non-union employees.
So if we did that, then that would take our levy limit from 58 to 38 or something like that, right?
Right. I just didn't have time to get to adjust all those salary line items.
That's fine, and I guess we should have a discussion about that. Is that something Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen that we want put into this budget at this time?
I do.
Yes.
This is Betsy. Yeah.
Okay. Sean, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Kim,
Yep, I would agree.
Diane,
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Sorry,
leaves-
since I
It
can't
leaves
see
about,
anybody.
30,000 for your levy limit.
Well, that's
Okay.
probably about as close as you want to go to, right? Like
Right.
a 25, 30, that's,
Right.
Correct.
And,
I mean,
and of course, in all of this, we haven't used a penny of free cash.
Not yet.
Correct.
Right,
Daryl,
good.
comment?
The select board should weigh in on that as well. I am in favor of that.
I just have one question.
Sure, Ed, go ahead.
I just have a question on understanding one thing. Under the budget education tab, it shows Hatfield Public Schools and it shows vocational schools. Is the vocational schools also the kids that go to any school, like Frontier or some other school, or is that somewhere else? I'm just curious on that. I don't know if
Ed?
John can answer that.
The vocational is Smith Voc. That's your Smith Voc kids. Tuition and transportation for Smith Voc.
Right.
But do we pay anything for kids that go to other schools?
it's a
We pay
deduction.
some out of, we do pay some out of district tuitions. That's part of our operating budget. That's in the budget that we presented last week.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
That was
Brian,
the-
Ed, did you want to weigh in on allowing those, that 20,000, was it $20,000?
28, yep.
28.
28 non-contract salaries.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that either. We want
Nor do I.
Okay,
free cash,
Yep.
right?
neither do I.
Okay, good,
Diana, may I make a comment?
please.
Sure.
The election fund or the election line in the budget that I sent in is almost $5,000 more than what's in the budget currently. Because as I said at the last meeting, the elections have to be funded, and we've got more elections next year than last year. So I mean,
Right.
level fund that budget, that's up to you guys, but it's not enough money.
Yeah, and Lydia, this is Daryl. I recognize that, and I think the plan for us, and others can correct me, is that this is the budget to put forward right now. It's pretty conservative. We understand there's going to be holes that will need to be filled, and that I assume that we assume that there'll be a fall town meeting once that, once we have a better idea what state revenues are actually going to be and what our town revenues are actually going to be, then we'll be able to correct that.
Okay. In addition, I just calculated, I spent today.
Can anyone else hear her? I can't hear you.
Lydia, try that again.
I also did some research on the early voting process and the manner it takes to process these early voting applications.
Lydia, I can't,
Nothing,
Lydia.
We're
can't
not
hear
getting
you.
anything.
We lost you, Lydia.
But didn't we talk about this last week, Lydia? And we told you that we would, is this something new?
Yeah. The calculation of it, even in addition to the extra 5 that I calculated, I'm looking at possibly another 2 to 3 in man hours to process early voting ballots for the September elections.
Well, I would assume, I won't speak for Daryl, but I assume that would be handled in the same way. Correct, Daryl?
That's correct.
Yeah, it's not a problem that's occurring right now.
Right.
I mean, yes, we understand the election and the account might be underfunded, but it's not a problem until we get to the elections, really.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, the town election's not going to do it, not going to overdraw it. So, you know, we're fine to go ahead there, and we'll just next year. It's also not a every year problem, because after, you know, we don't have the extra elections every year.
Correct.
Right.
So we could fund it out of free cash and solve it for, you know, for this year, and then next year it's not a problem. Or I'm
Right.
sorry, the year after it's not a problem.
Right.
Right.
One time.
Lydia, we appreciate the heads up, but it will be taken care of.
Okay,
Is-
so let's, are there any other questions, any issues that we have to hit with the budget right now? Any other departments that we would be seriously underfunding? I guess the one thing I wanted to make sure is, Marlene, did you correct your executive assistant line so that's now
Yeah,
where it's supposed to be?
right. That budget has been, has fallen into a deficit
Okay.
the last couple of years, because it didn't have the funds.
Right.
So did you fix that yet, or that still needs to be fixed?
Did I fix it? Yes, that's what I was.
Okay.
To Daryl, yes, I did.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question.
Right.
This is Betsy. The question I have is that last week we talked about if the voters did not support a debt exclusion for the Route 5 extension of sewer, and we had to borrow money within the confines of our regular budget in order to meet the requirements of the state grant. Somebody said something about that might consume about $90,000 of taxation money. Is that right?
Not this year,
When would that be? 22?
22.
Oh, okay.
And we were hoping, and I don't know if Sharon or Edwina or Phil have put numbers together, but I'm assuming that this is a relatively long-term borrow.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yes, it's a 30-year borrowing.
I emailed that breakdown last week.
yeah, okay.
It's 30 years, Daryl.
30 years, and
Yes.
okay. And is it $90,000 a year?
Yes. That's for penalty and interest, yes. Principal and interest penalties.
I was gonna say, we're already paying penalties.
I was going to ask
You're
about
always
that.
penalizing us there.
Oh, poor
Okay.
Sharon.
So here's my question about that, everybody, which is that even if it doesn't impact us until the 22 budget, is there a way to educate the voters, because they're going to be voting on that at the coming town meeting? And just in general, if somebody said to me, how would you like to support a debt exclusion for a sewer project across the 91, which has no meaning to me personally, I'm imagining people without a lot of information would just say, no, I don't want to do that. And so what could we do to help people understand why it would be to their benefit to make that a debt exclusion rather than part of payments from our regular operating budget?
I think that's good. I would assume, Phil, you'll have people at town meeting talking about it. I mean, I would assume there's a financial impact in increased revenues that will bring in from sewer, and hopefully increased businesses that will now want to use the Route 5 corridor because of the sewer line.
Yeah.
There is a statement that has been drafted, and Phil is looking at that. It, you know, refers to the project, the improvements, and, you know, the 2 million that we received from the state, and then this, this borrowing versus debt
Yeah.
exclusion scenario is part of
Okay.
that
Because
statement.
I'd like to have a brief summary, kind of like we did when we talked about water sewer rates. I thought that 2-page hard copy summary was really helpful to help people understand why it made sense to increase water sewer. And I think we need something similar before our June 16th election. Do you think that's possible, Marlene?
Yes, yeah, that can be done.
Because I'd be
We
happy.
will, yeah, Betsy, we will take care of that. I've already talked to Phil. We're going to try to get the engineer there. And people will also need to know that that 1.6 is on top of a $2 million grant we got from the state.
Yeah.
So we need to leverage one against the other. But we will certainly have some sort of hopefully a handout or some sort of a diagram. Because it's been a while since it's been talked about, actually.
Exactly.
You know, the grant, you know, we received it last fall or early winter. So it's been a few months, and given everything else that's going on in the world. But yeah, I would agree with you wholeheartedly that we need to do something to try to put something together and just remind everybody just how important this is.
Yep.
From a water and sewer perspective, for a safety perspective, for business growth perspective. I mean, all of those things.
And we need to extend that information beyond the people that show up at town meeting, because it will be on the ballot. So
the intent, Diana, is to get it on the town's website. I'd like to get it on there immediately. I was also to the newspaper, so maybe the newspaper might, you know, cover that. But yes, definitely the website and the town's Facebook.
Yeah, having an article in the paper would be really great, because as Brian mentioned, there are so many advantages to this project. And I think people really need to understand that. Not to mention that we have $2 million of the project funded by the state. So we're paying for less than half of the project, and reaping a lot of benefits. So Betsy's exactly right that we need to make sure that people understand you know, what they're voting on beyond just the sewer line.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Any more
question?
Any more discussion on the budget?
Here's my issue. This is Betsy again. Because I haven't had a chance to print this out and I'm old and feeble, I can't really read all the numbers I need to read on my computer screen. So I am going to print this out, and I just wanted to know, will we have another opportunity to ask questions about Marlene's proposed budget?
I'm kind of hoping we're going to meet next Tuesday, to be honest with you.
Okay, good, because I feel like I'm not really very well informed and my questions haven't yet been formulated.
And I guess the other thing we need to talk about is, a couple meetings ago, we talked about taking the free cash, the 500 and whatever $1,000, and putting that in finance reserve so that we would be able to use that this year. You know, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So is that the intent? You know, and I'm asking everybody, finance, board of selectmen, that we do that so that we keep that money available. So when we have another town meeting, we can, if we need to reallocate that to other things, we can.
I think that's a good idea this year, particularly because of what we're dealing with and the uncertainties of state funding, et cetera. I think that makes a lot of sense this year.
Right, and it takes a little pressure off. I mean, I know Melanson Heath is hoping to have 20 done and by this fall, but you know, we've kind of heard that before. I think I hope they'll do it. I have every confidence, but I think as a safety net, I just as soon have that free cash in a place where we can get our hands on it.
Marlene, can you remind me of the exact number that we're dealing with in terms of free cash going forward?
free cash was for FY19 was certified at 589,000.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay, anyone else have anything we need to discuss before we move on to the warrant with the budget?
We'll just have to figure out what the limit would be
Yes,
Right.
for finance reserve, because that, I think that comes pretty close, right?
it does.
Andrea Leary. Is now exiting.
Okay,
John, I think I sent you,
It might, the cap might be like close to like 490 something.
okay,
think it was
the
the
annual, the
percentage.
reserve budget cannot exceed 5% of the prior year property tax levy.
Oh,
So
all
five,
right, hang on.
Uh,
So
the finance reserve.
that would be. Is that not on the local receipts tab, Marlene?
It's on the taxation summary.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm
So
sorry, what are you?
Prior year. So it would be. is
Oh,
that
yeah, so
19 or 20?
prior year would be 20,
Nine-
would it not?
yeah, 20.
Mm-hmm.
can I ask again that people mute their microphones because we're getting some feedback?
So 5% of
What are you
7,55526
Yep,
is what, 350,000 or something?
something.
Okay, so we might not be able to put it all in finance reserve.
No,
What number did you use, Betsy? Isn't it the 7,317,963?
I use, I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I should be using.
I think it's 7,317,963
Okay,
Yeah, I think that's it.
Which
and
gives
87 cents.
65,898.
Yep,
Say
365.
that again, Diane.
365,898.
Okay.
Okay, allowed to finance reserve. Okay,
Say that number again.
365,898.
Okay.
Okay.
So the
So-
other 200,000 has to be allocated or
somehow,
spent
yeah.
by the end of June, right?
Correct. Allocated, yep, appropriated.
Yeah.
Appropriated somehow.
Or we just have to wait till fall to get it again.
No. Oh, unless you put it in the rainy day fund.
If it, if it
Yes.
closed, unless you put.
Well,
it
that's what I was gonna say. Can it go in stabilization?
It can, but then we need a 2/3 vote to get it out.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, and you need a town meeting.
Yeah, and there might be capital projects we want to go back and look at and talk about next Tuesday.
Mhm.
Right.
Like the freezer.
So I want to bring up one other thing that Marlene talked to me about this afternoon, and that was Marlene helped me with this, being over budget on the town hall renovation.
Right.
Project, and so do you want to talk about that? What are we, $300,000? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm estimating 300,000 because I think we're pretty close to 200 now. So we've had some, the architect incurred costs in the construction administration portion of his contract. There have been several change orders. And as I had mentioned, Daryl, there were items that surfaced during the construction, they were unknown. We
Right.
had the sewer pipe in the kitchen was a big expense, and electrical wiring. And there were items that became, then in the kitchen, because of the sewer pipe, and the extensive work there, that triggered some plumbing codes. And so, as I said, you know, depending on the work, not handicap accessible codes, but other electrical or plumbing codes.
Marlene, why is it we're building a kitchen in the town hall?
Well, we're not really building a kitchen, so probably half of the kitchen was taken for putting in the elevator.
Okay.
This is
It was
downstairs,
basically a
Betsy,
redesign, Betsy.
it's down in the Council on Aging space, Betsy. It's where, you know, they used that space to serve the congregate meals. They weren't prepared there, but they were served there and then cleaned up. So, you know, that's why there's a kitchen down there.
So the reason I bring this up, if I understand this right, that's $300,000 that we've spent that we don't have money to spend.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So that's something that needs to be needs to be figured out. So my question is, do we need to figure that out for this town meeting?
Well, then I would recommend that we certainly make an effort to, otherwise we close out the year and that's in deficit. And I'd hate to see the fiscal year close with that deficit. But I am talking with the accountant tomorrow to look at the construction expense reports.
Well, because I would assume if that's work that's been done and we don't have money to pay for it, there are contractors that haven't been paid for the work that they've done.
Well, we've been paying them, I believe, you know, it just, so I'm anticipating one more pay rec, and I'm also anticipating an invoice from the architect for additional services. So, you know, if it's in deficit, then we don't have the money to cover those
I guess
costs now.
the reason I was asking the previous question is there some adjustment we can make so that, you know, can we downsize? Can we take something back? Can we not move forward with some aspect? That's all I'm asking.
Well, the project is pretty much complete. They're looking at a June date, the middle of June for completion.
Okay.
I have an article on the warrant to repurpose funds. That's approximately, these are projects that have closed out.
Good.
And they have balances. That is approximately $61,517.
Okay.
That we could use
towards that. Okay, good.
When will we have an exact number, Marlene, on this deficit?
Well, I hope to have it this week.
Okay.
So we can
provided there aren't any other issues.
Right. So we can talk about it this coming Tuesday.
Yes.
When we have all the information. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then there was brother. And I guess the other thing I want to check, and I'm sorry, Diane, I know you want to move on, but with the budget is that did you put all the numbers in for the insurance increases and all that kind of stuff that we know is going on?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. Finance Committee, do you have any other questions?
Not yet.
Nope, while we're talking about the finances, before we move on to the town meeting warrant, Michael did ask a question about an update on, you know, closing out FY19 and 20. And Marlene, I know you keep us updated on this. Could you just give us a quick, if there's any new information on that?
Yes, so we closed out fiscal year 19, oh God, I want to say 3 weeks ago, maybe longer. Free cash was certified at $589,000, and actually I can give let's see here. $589,841. And enterprise fund, water and sewer, certified $61,093. And the other is the cable, that's $145,967. The auditors started auditing FY19. Let's see, I think over the past 2 weeks, all the offices have sent documents, data that they had requested, and I think they got started on it last Monday. Sharon, are you still there? Was it last Monday I know they were still.
Yes, last Monday, and I think as of Friday, they pretty much had everything they needed, so we're in good shape.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Tony Roselli was very pleased with how all the data came together, and departments were very quick to respond.
Okay. I assume that answers your question, Michael. Maybe he's not here anymore. Okay.
If you can hear me, stop muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, Michael.
Yeah, how about, Marlene, just a quick update on fiscal 20.
The accountant and the treasurer collector's office are reconciling, and Sharon, I mean, would you like to add anything? I know they're reconciling, and the plan is to close out FY20 in the fall.
So they came and we spent a very long time together last week, kind of doing double checks to make sure we're in line to get things wrapped up. So again, I think we're moving forward. They're very responsive. So we're fingers crossed so far. They're doing well, meeting the deadline. So, we had some kinks to work out, but I think we're running in good shape. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So if we're done with the finance committee, are you all ready to move on to the warrant?
Yeah, let's just confirm that we'll meet next Tuesday at 6:30 again. Is everyone okay with that?
I think so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Betsy, that's fine.
There's a bunch of warrant articles on here around consolidating and stuff. I think Marlene mentioned one of them.
Yes.
Do we want to have a discussion of those?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just hang on with us while we go through I'd like to just go through the warrant in order.
Yeah.
And most of it should be quick because we know the first ones are mostly boilerplate stuff. So
Diana,
Brian and Ed, do you want to just take this article by article and discuss if there's questions, or how do you want to do this?
You're muted, Ed. That's fine, Diana.
Okay.
Ed, I think you're muted. Yeah, we can go one by one, or yeah, we're gonna go through all the articles, and then ultimately we will decide, right, which ones will be on the meeting June 16th. Is that correct?
Well, I think we were going to post the whole warrant and then table what we needed to table that night.
Yep.
Okay, so Article 1 is obviously just to hold the elections. I'm fine with Article 1.
I'm fine.
Article 2, we want our money,
Yes. Article 3, again, these are standard, basically boilerplate things that we need to deal with each year. Same with Article 4, that's our Chapter 90. Article 5.
So last week I had presented this, it was far greater than, what that number is now. Those were special fund deficits that we were looking at.
Right. And so Marlene, do you want to talk to that a little bit? You and I talked about it earlier today. This article, when we looked at the warrant last week, was around $106,000. It's now 100,000. It's now down to 33.
Right.
And that was by working with Melanson Heath.
Right, so there were, the list of items that were reflected on this last week are on the free cash certification, but a number of, we're still penalized. Even though we addressed them in the recap, we still get penalized. Doesn't seem fair, but.
May I ask, what is the Rural Education Achievement Program?
That is the school. I don't know if John's still available.
Yeah, that was a REAP grant that we got for rural education. I'm not sure about the deficit. If it, John can certainly speak to it better than I can. I don't know if it was, is it that it was I don't want to say misapplied. You know, when we do our coding or whatever, you know,
Brian, I think you're absolutely right, because there's no way that could be a deficit in a grant we received.
Right.
Well, I think it was something that was miscoded, and then the books were closed out. So.
Right. And as we know, there were a number of errors. There were many expenses that did not get posted, or revenues that came in that did not get posted to the correct accounts.
Okay, so again, it's somewhat housekeeping, although for that particular one, there's a financial aspect of it.
Right.
But we definitely appreciate the significant drop in the dollar figure there. Article 6.
So Diana,
Yes.
can I just ask? So if we were going to take this up, where is this money coming from?
Marlene, doesn't that, can you explain where that comes out of?
Well, I would recommend funding that from free cash.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, it's either that or taxation.
Right.
Right. Okay. But we don't have the levy room right now in taxation, so that would have to be a free cash. And these are pretty old, so we just want to take care of them and get them off the books. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Marlene, would we see this back next year in our free cash? This is being held against us right now, I assume.
Yes. Even though it was taken care of on the recap sheet, it was still a deficit. It's been a deficit.
Well, right, they've already withheld it from free cash, right? So they're not going to redo free cash now, but next year, presumably, $33,000 additional dollars would be released.
Yes.
I mean, basically, what I'm trying to get at just is the free cash penalty that we're paying now is basically an offset.
Well, and that's what that's why I was asking Marlene that question, to sort of explain that it just comes off of there, but then ultimately goes back on next year.
Right. Yeah. Because they're just holding back what they think we might possibly owe.
Right.
If we don't owe it, and we can demonstrate that, or we pay it, then yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we would put that we would take that out of free cash for this town meeting.
If that's what the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee agreed to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing it down as a possible use of free cash.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else we would do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that makes sense, really. Okay.
We're going to get it back next year. So, anyway.
Are we set on Article 5?
Yep.
Article 6, Marlene, do you have any, are there any bills?
There are prior year expenses. Currently and I will double check my numbers, but currently it's about $1,867.48 in prior year invoices.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
I mean,
again,
their prior year, we could delay them until the fall.
Right. But
it's a pretty small amount of money. We could just as easily get.
Yeah.
And not unusual.
Just take care of it.
But if we decided to take it up, it would have to be free cash. Well, I suppose we could take it off taxation, but.
Yeah, we could probably squeeze $1,800 out of the levy.
What's the
Yeah.
estimated amount of money?
$1,800.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Yeah, so why don't we just plan on taking that off the levy?
Okay.
Okay. Article 7 is a town hall article. Marlene, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so these are projects that have been completed, and there are balances that remain. And I'm recommending that we repurpose this money because they were, these projects are relative to projects for town hall, that we would use this money to offset the construction deficit.
Right. That's what we just discussed a little while ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody all set with Article 7?
Yes.
Yep.
Article 8. So this is, there was a previous article for the Council on Aging renovations, which I believe was in the neighborhood of $300,000, Marlene.
That's correct.
And so this is just to repurpose it.
Right, we do anticipate a balance, so we use some of that 325. As you said, it was language in the article was specific to use of those funds. And so we used some of that money for the second egress to the Council on Aging Center.
Okay.
And some of the kitchen work.
Okay.
So I'm recommending that the balance of that 325,000 be used to fund other improvements in the Council on Aging Center.
Okay. Great. Anybody have any questions?
Would that help with this, any of this $300,000 deficit?
No. No, my understanding is that this money would be dedicated to the work for the Council on Aging that has yet to be done.
Right.
Correct.
Is this something we could hold off talking about into the fall?
Well,
They can't move in until we fix up the place. We don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need,
Coming back.
I would really like to take care of this. It's just repurposing funds that have already been allocated so that we can get to work on the Council on Aging and get them moved back into the town hall and out of the church. I do not want to wait on that. It's not any new money. It's just repurposing, and that project needs to move forward. That's my personal feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on board with that too.
Okay, so everybody set with Article 8?
Yep.
What's
Article
the dollar amount
9.
on that? Sorry,
Pardon?
Diana.
What?
What's the dollar amount on Article 8?
The dollar amount what?
On Article 8?
We don't have it specifically yet, do we?
roughly 200,000, but that, yeah, I'd say roughly around 200,000.
So originally there was 325 appropriated by this special town meeting in 2016 to do renovations to the Council on Aging. The work wasn't done. In the meantime, everything else happened with the town hall and the elevator. There was then the push to also have a ramp. So the ramp, and then Marlene said some additional work in the kitchen was done using that 325. So now we have to repurpose what's left over to be able to use it for the Council on Aging project.
Okay.
Is that right, Marlene?
Yes, it is.
Well,
Okay.
all right. This was money though this is an authorization, or this money was already borrowed?
The money has been borrowed. Yeah, it was an authorization to borrow, and it has been borrowed.
And it has been done. Okay.
Correct. So I still have to review that article with town council, Article 8.
Okay.
And we'd obviously need a specific dollar amount.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, good with Article 8? Everybody?
Yep.
Article 9. this is to do with the school department special education expense. John, you want to speak to this, maybe what it's for, and if we need to deal with this in June, or if this one can be put off? Is John still here? John Robert?
No, I'm here. I'm just getting myself unmuted here.
Okay.
This is a unanticipated special education out of district expenses for this year. So this was something that we had notified the town back in January about. It's actually gone down significantly from what it was originally going to be, but it is fiscal year 20 deficit.
Okay, so we should
And how
probably
much
deal
is
with it.
it now, John?
Well, the last I sent to you was I don't have it again, but it was about 50,000, was it? How much?
59,900. 59,900.
That's a great job, John, and school department getting that number down. Thank you.
Yes.
And Marlene, I will double check that figure again to see if it's maybe a little bit lower, but I know it was 59,900, but it may be a little bit lower. I will confirm that for you tomorrow.
Okay.
Where's that money coming from?
I would assume we'd have to take it from free cash. That's our only choice.
Okay,
Right,
got it.
okay. Article 10, Marlene, do you have an idea of what these unforeseen expenses will be? Are you,
So, at the end of the fiscal year, the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee have the ability to transfer available funds from other budgets to cover, deficits. And I'm not so sure that you will have that flexibility with the town administrator's expense and the accountant's expense, because we have gone into deficit with outsourcing the accounting services. And as you know, Melanson Heath was asked to close out fiscal year 19. Initially, we hired them to handle FY 20. So we have depleted the money in the town accountant's budget, and 14,000 was put into the town administrator's budget for professional consulting. And that will be used. It's certain. There's certain that will be used.
So how much money do we need?
Daryl, I don't have that number readily available.
Okay.
do you have a ballpark, Marlene?
Well, I can get that. I think it was going to be around 40,000. Yeah.
So again, I mean, our choice would be free cash or to wait, but it doesn't seem wise to wait. But anyway, we can,
It's fiscal year 20.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these fiscal year 20 things have to be cleaned up.
No, I agree.
So then we'll consider that perhaps coming from free cash, that decision can be made
Yeah.
Tuesday or, okay.
Yep.
Article 11, that is the luminarium article. Obviously, there's no money attached to that. So, I mean, I have no problem taking this up at this meeting, but it can wait because, we'll have another town meeting. But I don't know how Ed and Brian feel about that.
What would be the impact of it not happening?
Well,
I mean, the luminarium already happened on the Saturday before whatever
Yes.
last year, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, and we have it planned for Saturday this coming year because we have fireworks in conjunction with the 350th. I say, let's just put it out there. This needs to be taken care of. let's try to deal with it at this meeting.
But even if we deal with it in the fall, it'll be before December. Right?
Well, and even this December, the board did take a vote to have it on the Saturday. We've booked fireworks. It has to happen on that Saturday for 2020.
Yeah,
so,
no, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I just, in
Isn't
terms of-
Luminarium always run by separate non-town organizations and clubs?
Yes.
I mean, why is this here?
well, because apparently Lydia and Louise did some research and found out that this was somehow set by town meeting at some point.
Okay. I mean, I have no problem with it. I was just, it seems to be one of those events that if volunteers didn't, I know there's different organizations that assist, but if volunteers didn't run it, it's really not a town thing per se.
Exactly.
Other than all of us being part of it, of course. So.
I agree. I don't know why this has to be. It was submitted by the town clerk.
Okay.
I don't know
have no
why
problem
it has
with
to be a vote of town floor. She's on the meeting. Did you want to speak to this, Lydia? Maybe she's left.
Yeah, no big deal. I was just curious. Thank you.
Is Lydia there?
I'm here.
So did you hear the question?
Yeah. So apparently, I think it was in 2000 that there was a town meeting vote to hold it on the Sunday before Christmas or before Christmas Eve. So if it was voted that way by town meeting, change it to a Saturday, you'd have to have a town meeting vote.
But
to make a change.
But Lydia,
if volunteers
says-
schedule an event and they have it, they don't need a town bylaw to have the event in the first place.
Correct.
There was no need to vote it at town meeting in 2000 unless you were going to expend town money to do it. So,
council.
And can I just point out, the language in this says the town of Hatfield herein makes the following proclamation. This isn't a bylaw. It was a proclamation that was made 20 years ago. It is not part of our bylaws. Maybe this just doesn't need to be on at all. You're right. It's not a town. There's not a town board that oversees it.
Right.
I don't know that we need to go through all this. The decisions have been made to change it. We're not bound by bylaw to have it on any day or to have it at all.
It says in here, the Board of Selectmen shall see any purposes.
Yeah, it says that, but there are no expenditures. That also doesn't mean that is this in the bylaws, Lydia?
Marlene, you can readdress it with town council, but I thought I had an email from town council agreeing that it should be revoted. But if you want to question town council again, that's fine.
We question town council on this?
Yeah.
Marlene, do you have the documentation from town council?
Well, I think I was copied on it here. Let me just.
But this clearly says it's a proclamation. I mean, that is not a bylaw.
I think where the listen, I don't care, honestly, but as I'm reading it in front of me, I think where Lydia's coming from is the Board of Selectmen shall oversee any expenditures of the town.
Correct.
But that does not need to be in there because the board has the town has no expenditures.
The other thing is it doesn't say in that body that those expenditures are tied to any particular date for that happening. It says that we're proclaiming it's the Saturday before December 24th. It then goes on to say that the board would oversee expenditures, which we don't. I guess I'd be curious to know, Marlene, if you're having trouble locating that, we can
No,
talk about that
I'm
next.
searching for it.
Yeah, no big deal. We can talk about it next Tuesday.
But
I believe I was copied on it. I'm searching for it. Looking in my town meeting folder.
it sounds like Lydia's speaking, but I can't hear her.
No, you need a new microphone, Lydia.
It's not that big a deal.
Well, we couldn't hear all the other things you said.
I was saying the same thing over and over. I said, I'll get it to you next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Article 12. Marlene, did you want to speak to this article? This has to do with the cemetery and the gardens.
I just located it and I can forward it to the Board of Selectmen, that email.
Okay, if we could see that before the next meeting, that'd be great.
I'm forwarding it to you. Yeah, you'll have it.
Okay, Marlene, did you want to speak to Article 12 about the Billings Way?
Actually, I've had some conversations. I understand that I haven't talked directly to members of the Cemetery Commission, but I understand they may have some reservations about having this article on the warrant. But anyway, the purpose would be, as you know, we lease that property for agricultural purposes. Typically, we've done it on a yearly basis.
Okay.
And there has been 1 or 2 years where it was for 2 years. And the thought was that perhaps if we'd like to lease it for a longer term, it would require town meeting authorization. So what this does is allow the Board of Selectmen to enter into an agreement to lease the property for up to 10 years. It doesn't have to.
Just for a longer term.
Correct. But I will follow up with the cemetery commission.
Okay, so.
Just of note, Diane, it also requires a 2/3 vote.
Yes.
Which, if we have to do it standing outside at the pavilion.
Right. Well, and this is one that could certainly wait till fall. Am I right?
Well, if I were the farmer would say, that's not a good idea because they like to be able to plan their season. I understand that they would probably do some work in the fall and then they start early spring. So if we were going to do, it probably could wait until the fall, but not too late because you'd want to lease this in the late fall, early winter.
Right, but in the meantime,
Marlene, do you have this leased to a farmer now?
Yes.
And we have the ability to renew that lease.
Yeah, for this growing season, the 2020 growing season, it'd be fine to wait until the fall if you're thinking about doing the longer term thing starting in the 2021 growing season.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I trust what you're saying, Daryl. So I just know I've had conversations with some other people and I know that, you know, they cap the field, but that is done at the end of the growing season, correct, Daryl?
Yeah. Yep.
My point though is we have the ability to enter into this lease on a year-to-year basis, or is it 3 years? It's 1 year, right?
Currently, it's for 1 year.
Okay, so it doesn't take away from our ability to still lease this yearly. In the meantime, so I'm assuming it's already been leased for this growing season.
It is.
We awarded that lease. And so I say this can wait till the fall, or we can decide next week after you said there's some reservations from the cemetery commission.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so maybe we need a little bit more information before we make a decision.
Plus, I'd like
but I also think we have to be mindful of keeping
without
people.
having to worry. I mean,
Pardon?
you can a 3-year lease if you want under the state laws, and you don't have to have an article on that.
Right. That's
Right.
another option, Ed.
If it's more than 3 years, right, it requires an article.
Right, so there's that option as well. So I'd be curious to get the cemetery commission's input on that. And maybe this can wait. I mean, we do have to be mindful of people potentially standing, being outside. So, okay.
Mosquitoes.
The mosquitoes are an actual legitimate concern, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're really bad down there. So, okay, so Article 12, we'll make a decision Tuesday. Article 13, this is easements. I assume this goes along with the sewer project?
Yes, it's related to the water and sewer project on Route 5.
Okay, I think we should probably try to move forward with that. I don't expect that that would be particularly controversial. Anybody else have thoughts on Article 13?
No, I think we need it.
Brian?
Agreed. I mean, it's, you know, it's all part of the larger project. So,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
Article 14, that's submitted by the board. That's just to change, referring to us as a Board of Selectmen to a Select Board. You know, this may be something we can do fairly quickly. I'm fine with leaving it on there. It's Ed, Brian,
Nope, that's fine.
okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's good.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry. So
Go ahead.
Marlene and Finance Committee, Diana and Ed. So when we meet next Tuesday, when does the order of these articles need to be like published or put out to the public? And where I'm going with this is maybe we should prioritize the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, which are sort of what order we want. And then as it gets late, as it gets buggy, as it gets whatever, you know what I mean? We'll sort of know which ones,
Yeah.
okay, if we can hit these, fine. If we don't, we can wait till fall. But we, you know, just make sure we
Exactly.
get them in kind of the order that we want to make sure we go through. Does that make
Exactly.
sense? Or,
That makes
or we
sense to
can
me,
table
Brian.
them as we go. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
because a lot of these I'm fine with tabling. I'm also fine with just taking care of them if they can be done
Yeah.
quickly and things are moving along.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think you're right. They have to be sort of, you know, labeled like a yes, a no, or a maybe, basically.
Okay.
But you're
Yeah,
right,
the only-
put in an
the only
order so
question
that,
about some of these is they require 2/3. So if
Right.
anybody objects, then we're gonna have to count, and that's gonna, you know, take time. And like, so if you, that's my only fear is if you get into counting a whole bunch of them, it's gonna slow
Right.
things down.
right.
Okay. Good. Good point.
And some of them, you know, Article 15 is a perfect example. This has, these are changes, Article 15 and 16. These are zoning bylaw changes. In all likelihood, they could lead to some discussion. And I do worry about people's comfort level down there. So there's nothing pressing about these that I'm aware of. So these are ones that could potentially be tabled.
I was at the hearing on both of these, Diana, and they raised a significant amount of discussion that night.
Yes, so I
So-
think that I think that these would be, I think that townspeople would be better served if these articles were taken up at a time when people are indoors in comfortable seating.
Yes, I agree. Both 15 and 16 should be tabled.
Okay, any more
Sounds good.
discussion?
Nope.
Article 17 is just the CPA funding. It's financial, but it's, I think it's something we can certainly move forward with that night.
This is pretty much boilerplate.
Right. Anybody else have any thoughts on 17?
No, all set.
Okay, and the same is, I feel the same way about Article 18
Yep.
and Article 19.
Agreed.
Capital planning articles, obviously, the $1.6 million one has to be moved forward that night.
Yeah,
I think that should be moved up too.
Yes, I agree.
So I drafted,
is this the article that we'll use in case the debt exclusion doesn't pass?
so that first one is the straight borrowing article
Yeah.
that I drafted, and yet it has to be reviewed with town council. The one below it, that's the debt exclusion, that has been on the warrant and reviewed with town council.
Okay.
So probably the debt exclusion article should appear before the other one.
It doesn't matter because you're going to pass them both, actually,
You are,
right?
yeah, okay,
Yeah. I mean, you hope to pass them both.
okay. Then we have both options on the table. Okay,
Right, because you're not going to decide until after the election.
right. Article 21, we'll need to take up.
That's the article to address costs, unforeseen costs with the town hall project.
Right, and that's an FY20 expense.
Correct.
Okay.
I think it needs to be presented that evening. Okay,
Yeah, and Marlene, you're gonna get us numbers for next week on that anyway, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
anybody have anything else on 21? Okay, Article 22. So how is this one different, Marlene, from the other article on the renovating of the Council on Aging?
Well, that is, and I'll review that with town council. So when we spoke earlier regarding Article 8, that is to repurpose the money that was voted at the special town meeting. So that Article 8 is specific to that. If we're able to, lump both together, then.
But what is this one for? This is more money?
No, it's for the same, well, it's to renovate the Council on Aging. Which one are you looking at? 22, right?
22.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So it's to
Yeah,
renovate.
why doesn't 22 follow 8?
We could do that.
Well, so
I thought
one is
8
to repurpose.
the money. Doesn't 8 repurpose the money?
Yes, it does.
So then why do we need 22?
So Diana, because that's specific to a vote, an authorization that was.
To appropriate it.
Yeah.
Right, and it's to, repurpose it. Like I said, if we can lump both of those
You
together.
probably put them
if town
together.
Council agrees to that, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
one
Let's
is
look into that.
to repurpose, and then the next one is to specifically repurpose it for the Council on Aging. Is that, in
Correct.
essence, is that
Oh, I see.
basically
I
what it
thought
is?
that 8 was to repurpose it for Council on Aging, but okay.
Yeah,
But it's two
I'm with you,
separate.
but
It is.
You might be able to do them together.
might be able to change a word here and there and do them all in one.
Yeah, let's
And
try to
even
do
if
that.
there has to be, if there has to be 2 separate ones, let's put them right together, so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to do that, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Article 23 is revolving funds. I mean,
That's a standard
Yeah,
yes.
that's standard.
annual article.
Article 24,
Standard.
that's the budget.
Daryl,
Is
And then
now
Article
exiting.
25 is standard. Everybody good on those?
Yes.
So it seems like there's some that we need a little more information on, some financial information, some other type of information like the cemetery, the lease. And then there's some that we'll make some final determinations on next Tuesday.
Okay.
Diana, it's Sharon.
Yes,
We let Marlene know there also that per Justin, so we're gonna confirm with Pat, the new accountant, that there needs to be an article about putting money in unemployment fund, which we know we're certainly paying some unemployment expenses at this point. So we may have to add that on there as well, but we're gonna double check that before next week, just to give you a heads up, though.
So I have a note to talk with the accountant, just to give you some background.
Daryl,
Typically,
Is now joining.
prior to last year, prior to last year's annual town meeting, we always budgeted about $20,000 in the operating budget for the unemployment line item. And the treasurer's office had believed that money was getting transferred to an account, a fund that had been set up. Previous accountant closed it out to the general fund. So Justin had recommended that we not fund it in the through the
Right.
operating budget process. And we had an article on the warrant last year to appropriate the $20,000 and put it into an unemployment fund. The article said fund, and I know the treasurer's office referred to it as a trust fund. So we build up that unemployment trust fund to cover the cost of claims.
Have we had claims?
Oh, this year we have.
Yeah.
The sheriff, we can certainly speak
Okay.
to that.
It's a kind of impossible to know sometimes if you're going to have claims or not,
Right, you don't
because
know.
you're being claimed against things that may have happened months ago. You know, like if somebody leaves the town of Hatfield and they go work for someone else and they get
Right.
laid off there, we're responsible for the claim.
Right.
partially.
My
So
question,
even if we lay off nobody,
there have been claims this year.
But we currently have laid off employees as of today, so we are definitely paying, I mean, we laid off several employees from the school at this point, so we definitely have active claims.
yeah.
Okay.
My question to Lori is, this is what Justin had instructed us to do. So should we, fund it through the operating budget or have an article every year on the?
Okay.
I will know. I'll know which way we're going to go because I'll be talking with Lori tomorrow.
Any other questions on that?
Nope.
So I think we can probably wrap up this, this joint meeting and this discussion of the budget and the town meeting articles, unless anyone from the finance committee or Brian or Ed have any questions or anything to add.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good, Diana.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
Great.
fine.
good as well.
thank you, everybody, very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. So we can move along on our agenda. Is everybody ready for that?
1 second, please.
What are we waiting for exactly? Okay,
I had to open it on my screen, Madam
Oh.
Chair.
sorry.
Jeez. Wow.
Okay, so next it says continued old business. Marlene, there's nothing itemized under there. Is that,
No, I don't have any
okay,
old business at this time.
okay. And then DPW report, but I don't see Phil on here and there's nothing itemized.
14133207710 is now exiting.
That was Daryl leaving the meeting.
Ah.
So we're not having a DPW report tonight.
No, there was nothing from since last week, and I've already connected with Phil during our call today with excuse me, with Carrie and the chiefs. our weekly call, which is usually on a Monday, but of course yesterday was a holiday. So
Right.
we've already spoken about the cleanliness of town hall as we get ready to open up and, all that kind of stuff. So,
I have been hearing from some residents with concerns about the condition of Chestnut Street, and I'm hoping we can, I can get some information about that. So I'll talk to Phil.
where they did the work.
Yeah, it's pretty,
Water, sewer.
yeah. Pretty choppy.
Yeah.
Marlene,
Diane,
counted.
I'll be glad to shoot Phil an email and ask him to touch base with you about that.
That's great. I left him a voicemail, but
Oh, okay.
I didn't, that was a while ago. I haven't heard back. Town administrator report. Marlene, do you have anything?
I don't right now, nothing that requires, attention of the board.
Okay.
Any action yet, nothing.
Any new business or unanticipated new business?
None.
I have nothing
Nothing from
either.
me.
Okay. Great. I'm all set. If anyone has anything else, otherwise I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion been made and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion?
No, thank you, guys.
Okay, all those in
Thank
favor?
you, everybody.
Aye.
Aye.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next Tuesday, 6:30. Are we going to post early?
If it's necessary, but I'll certainly talk to you about that, Diane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Diana. Thanks,
Thank you.
Marlene.
And thank you, everybody who,
Joined in.
came. I know these
Remotely.
meetings aren't easy to follow, but I appreciate you being here and trying to stay informed, even though it's not as easy as usual. So, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.